Hi, I'm Mike. We're here at the Brighton Music Conference 2020, and we are joined by Sister Bliss. Hello, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
How's your BMC 2020 going so far?
Well, it's been a very peaceful one because obviously the delegates are now online, but I've just done a kind of keynote speech talking about how I came into the music world and what the future holds for us all.
It's been quite an unusual conference, but it's been quite an unusual year, hasn't it?
How's putting it mildly. Yeah.
How was your lockdown?
Lockdown was okay. I'd say compared with many others, I had a relatively okay time. Still quite exhausting. I'm a single parent of a teenager, and my whole day was all about homeschooling pretty much. It didn't leave a lot of time for being creative, but in between bits of PlayStation activity, I managed to carry on work on our latest Faithless album, which is called All Blessed, and that's coming out soon. So at least I had a little bit to keep me occupied and out of trouble during lockdown. So yeah, I was luckier than many, many, many of my colleagues in the industry, that's for sure.
You've been very vocal and passionate about the lack of support for UK nightlife and the wider music industry from the government. Do you want to tell us a bit about what you think needs to happen moving forward?
Well, I think a comprehensive package of support, just like other industries have received. It's very short-sighted to let the whole industry be thrown under a bus. If we can bail out the bankers, we can certainly bail out the music industry and all its associated industries. You know, there are people who have spent a lot of money in taxes. They are also fountains of education. They bring people up through the ranks, people that run all the companies that provide the gear for all the events that happen, that make this country, you know, an incredible cultural force globally, especially within electronic music. But beyond that, in orchestras and opera and dance, you name it, the performing industries are what makes this a civilized nation. And I would say the envy of the world in lots of cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like perhaps we don't have enough advocates. I think perhaps MPs are disconnected. They're also dealing with the pandemic and a government that is pretty clueless and directionless in their policies. I think there's been consistent undermining of the arts for many, many years. It starts with teaching music to children in school, which should be as a matter of course, but it's not. It's very rare that you get schools where music and music tech is even on the curriculum. It's not being regarded as an equal partner to, say, maths and science and history. But actually, if you look at the economic contribution that people involved in our music business, whether they are musicians or in associated industries, it's incredibly economically short-sighted not to invest in something that is an extraordinary career opportunity and also something that creates social cohesion and uplifts people's spirits. You know, we need to have a spiritually healthy nation because the knock-on effect actually impacts on everything, on our ability to work, on our ability to be healthy mentally, and ultimately that's going to cost the state a lot more. If they don't invest now and save our industry so we have something to come back to when a vaccine and effective track and trace is in place, we're going to be a much poorer nation in more ways that we can even begin to count. And the effects are being felt now. Too many businesses are already closing down, laying people off, and the social, mental, physical effects of that are being felt across the board. And actually, financially, it makes more sense to create a rescue package right now for our industry. And if we can speak together as one voice and actually tell MPs and the government what our needs and concerns are and, you know, put that in front of them as a plan going forward, that's what our industry needs, there's absolutely no reason why they can't take our expert advice on board and move forward. My production manager, you know, runs the biggest tours you can think of, not just Faithless, Prodigy, the Spice Girls, Stone Roses, Depeche Mode, you know, tours that gross millions. Cannot get any kind of gig, can't even get driving work for Argos, which is what a lot of other people are doing at the moment. You know, it's embarrassing. Someone who's worked in the industry for, you know, nearly 30 odd years at the absolute top of their game, knows every part of the industry, has enormous knowledge and accounting skills, logistics and so on and so on. And that's at the top ranking level of crew, and all of these people make our shows happen. We don't have a performing arts industry without the stage hands and the production managers and the lighting techs and the crew and the riggers and the truck drivers and the whole ecosystem that makes our world possible. And I'm the cherry on the cake as the performer / artist who gets the privilege of performing to people, but my God, what a team around me to make that happen. And in the venues that I play at, you know, I was supposed to be at Concord next week, you know, an iconic venue, important place in this city. A lot of young people here, a university in Sussex and so forth, and the community itself. It's a great provider of jobs and a social network. And they can't open. You know, it's insane. Going to let that venue close down, and all the others that, you know, these real people, real lives and real jobs being thrown on what, you know, some kind of ideological argument that our industry isn't viable, quote unquote, from a politician yesterday, which makes my blood boil.
I know you've spent a lot of time in the studio over lockdown, and obviously haven't had much time to perform live, but what do you prefer doing? Do you like being in the studio, or do you like being on stage?
I think the whole point is to play your music to people. You know, the creative experience happens in the studio, but then your music lives and breathes with an audience. It brings you affirmation if they like it, if you're lucky enough. Seems to make sense of all the times that are really difficult and really tough. And ultimately, Faithless has always been, you know, about connection. We make music to reach out to people. It's always been emotive. We've always tried to have, you know, a lyrical message in our music, which is about the fundamental, you know, job of being a human being, you know, right from the first album onwards.
Absolutely.
And that comes alive in the performance, in that connection where we come one with the audience. And we've written songs alluding to that exact experience.
I hope it translates over the internet then, from your perspective. I hope it comes back to you.
It's my first gig in 7 months. I'm quite nervous.
Goodness
actually.
me, I'm sure it'll be fine. So good luck and have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for taking time to speak to us. And
thank you so much for having me.
All right, bye.